think I'll revisit again. The other aspect of the study, again, is the challenge, or as a part of weaving into what's the nature of the process, because there also is field testing of an early version of the draft. It's years-long process involved in the drafting of the studies. And so a writer spends months developing a rough draft, a first draft, that goes and gets field tested, and then that feedback is collected, and then based on those responses, another draft is crafted, and then on down the line, So it's a very long process involved to develop these studies. Given the sort of misgivings or challenges that I faced, or that I was concerned about, that I expressed earlier in writing the study, my first approach in the first draft, I erred on the side of approaching it as if I were writing a textbook, instead of as if I were writing an actual sort of, discipleship-minded Bible study. There were a lot of things that I sought to experiment with in the first draft, given that, once again, the epistles do not unfold in the way of story or narrative. That presents a challenge in terms of, analytical structure and weaving together a theme. But also, the sort of pastoral care element of being mindful of people's concerns and hopes and dreams when they approach these studies, and when they think about their identity specifically as Presbyterian women and the PW groups who approach the study. There's always, I always hear the concern expressed, we need to get younger women. We don't have enough younger women. We're going to die on the vine if we don't, get younger women, into the fold. What do we need to do? Some people don't want to embrace change at all, and so the model, the goal is, how do we sort of guilt them or convince them that they need to adopt the status quo? Or there are those who really want to change, and what do we need to do to change so that we can engage more younger women or more different groups that we don't already engage? What new methods are there? And so, I know, or I suspect that one of the reasons that my writing style and that my voice appealed to the selection committee was because my perspective is different than many, than some of the other iterations of the study. I'm a younger woman. I don't know if I'm not. I may actually be the youngest woman to have written one of these studies. I don't know. But I, as a person of color, and we have had another person of color that has written the study before, so, that no longer is unique, yay, but is certainly one where we are catching up. All of that is to say that there were some directions that I sought to experiment with in that first draft. And so it was intentionally kaleidoscopic, both because I felt like I had to write a textbook, but also because I was experimenting with sort of different catchphrases, different sources to quote, whether it be song titles or other pop cultural references that might shed light on Scripture. I experimented with different theological perspective and different theological arguments, and so that was a part of, the first draft. I experimented with a variety of approaches. And got a variety of different responses in all sorts of different directions. But probably one of the biggest takeaways, and again why Ashley was so helpful, was we really want to hear how you respond and react to these scriptures. And so really the opportunity to share my voice and to lift that up and to join that in community, I think is a really important thing to lift up also as a part of the process of this study. And so I hope the conversation continues. You know, this is a launching off point and a point of entry for us to continue to nurture one another in the faith. And so to that extent, whether you agree with everything that I've said, whether you agree with some of the stuff that I've said, whether you agree with none of the stuff that I've said, I think that the table is open to everybody to explore. And so I look forward to our continued opportunities to be in conversation about discerning the call and movement of the Spirit in the midst of our household of faith.